In the heart of a Mega Boot village, a hero was born. His name was Mega Boot Man. He wasn't like other heroes. He didn't wear a cape. He didn't have superpowers, but he had something more powerful, a burning desire for justice. Mega Boot Man grew up poor. He knew hunger. He knew cold. He knew what it felt like to be forgotten, but he never forgot. He never stopped caring. As he grew older, his heart grew bigger. His resolve grew stronger. One day, everything changed. He found an ancient artifact, the boot sword. It was no ordinary weapon. It could paralyze enemies with a single touch. Mega Boot Man knew he had to use this power for good. He had to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. From that day on, Mega Boot Man dedicated his life to helping others. He became a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in the darkness. But his path wouldn't be easy. He would face challenges. He would face enemies. He would face himself. Mega Boot Man faced a moral dilemma. He knew stealing was wrong, but he saw injustice everywhere. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer. Something had to change. He decided to take action. He started small, a coin here, a jewel there. He gave it all to the poor. He saw smiles replace frowns. He saw hope replace despair. But was it enough? Could he justify his actions? Mega Boot Man wrestled with his conscience. He knew the law said he was wrong, but his heart told him he was right. He thought of the hungry children, the sick elderly, the desperate families. He couldn't stand by and do nothing, so he continued. He became bolder. He targeted the greediest of the rich, those who exploited others, those who hoarded wealth. He told himself it was for the greater good, but deep down he wondered, was he becoming the very thing he fought against? In the poorest part of Omega Boot Village lived Calino. He was a cobbler. He worked hard, but he could barely feed his family. His children were thin, his wife was sick. Calino was losing hope. One night, Mega Boot Man visited Calino's home. He left a bag of gold coins. Calino couldn't believe his eyes. He wept with joy. For the first time in years, he felt hope. Calino used the money wisely. He bought food for his family, medicine for his wife, tools for his work. He even helped his neighbors. The whole street seemed brighter. Mega Boot Man watched from the shadows. He saw the change he had made. It filled him with purpose, but it also filled him with doubt. Was this sustainable? Could he keep this up forever? Only time would tell. Veronico was the richest man in Omega Boot Village. He was also the greediest. He owned half the village. He charged unfair rents. He paid unfair wages. People suffered while he grew fat. Mega Boot Man decided to confront Veronico. He sneaked into his mansion at night. He found Veronico counting his gold. The sight made Mega Boot Man's blood boil. Veronico saw Mega Boot Man. He reached for his sword, but Mega Boot Man was faster. He drew his boot sword. With a single touch, Veronico was paralyzed. He could only watch as Mega Boot Man took his gold. Mega Boot Man left Veronico with a warning. "Change your ways," he said, "or I'll be back." He left, carrying bags of gold, but he also carried a heavy heart. Violence, even for good, left a bitter taste in his mouth. Section 5. Ripples of Change, Mega Boot. Man's impact on the community. Word spread fast in Omega Boot Village. People whispered about Mega Boot Man. Some called him a hero, others called him a thief, but everyone felt the change. The poor started to prosper. They had food on their tables, they had roofs over their heads, they started to smile more, to laugh more. Hope was in the air, but not everyone was happy. The rich felt threatened. They hired guards, they built walls, they hoarded their wealth even more. The divide in the village grew deeper. Mega Boot Man saw this. He realized his actions had consequences, good and bad. He helped some, but scared others. He brought hope, but also fear. He wondered if there was a better way. Section 6, a philosophical duel. Mega Boot Man meets King Andara Park. King Andara Park ruled over Omega Boot Village. He was powerful, he was wise. But was he just? Mega Boot Man decided to find out. One night, Mega Boot Man entered the king's chamber, but King Andara Park was waiting. He didn't reach for a weapon. Instead, he offered Mega Boot Man a seat. They talked for hours, about right and wrong, about justice and law, about power and responsibility. King Andara Park challenged Mega Boot Man's methods. Mega Boot Man challenged the king's policies. In the end, they reached no agreement, but they gained understanding. Mega Boot Man saw the complexities of ruling. King Andara Park saw the desperation of his people. Both men left the room changed. Section 7. The ultimate showdown. Good triumphs over evil. Despite their talk, King Andarapak didn't change his ways. He raised taxes, he tightened laws, he oppressed the poor even more. Megaboot Man knew he had to act. The final battle came on a stormy night. Megaboot Man faced King Andarapak and his guards. The boot sword clashed with royal steel, lightning flashed, thunder roared. Megaboot Man fought with all his heart, not just for himself but for Calino, for the village, for justice. He dodged blows, he parried strikes, he pushed forward one step at a time. In the end, Megaboot Man stood victorious. King Andarapak lay defeated, but Megaboot Man didn't gloat. He offered the king a choice. Rule with compassion, he said, or don't rule at all. The king, humbled, agreed. Section 8. The Price of Heroism. Megaboot Man's inner turmoil. Victory brought no peace to Megaboot Man. He had won the battle, but had he won the war? He couldn't shake off his doubts, his fears, his guilt. He thought of all the lives he had changed, for better and for worse. He remembered the faces of those he had helped and those he had hurt. The weight of his actions bore down on him. Megaboot Man realized the true cost of heroism. It wasn't just physical danger, it was moral uncertainty. It was the burden of choice, the responsibility of power. It was a lonely path, but he also remembered why he started. The injustice, the suffering, the need for change. He knew he couldn't stop, not yet, not while there was still work to be done, so he stood up ready to face another day. Section 9. Legacy of the Boot Sword. Lessons in humility and generosity. As time passed, Megaboot Man's legend grew, but he didn't let it go to his head. He remembered his humble beginnings. He stayed true to his purpose. He used his fame to spread a message of humility, of generosity. He taught people that true wealth wasn't in gold. It was in kindness, in compassion, in helping others. The boot sword became a symbol, not of violence, but of justice, not of fear, but of hope. People started to change. The rich became more generous. The poor became more empowered. Megaboot Man watched with pride. He saw his dream coming true, a world where people helped each other, where wealth was shared, where no one was left behind. But he knew his work wasn't done. It had only just begun. Section 10. The future of Omega Boot Village. A new dawn. Omega Boot Village transformed. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. People smiled more, they helped each other more. There was a sense of community, of belonging. Megaboot Man looked at his village with pride, but also with caution. He knew change was fragile. It needed to be nurtured, protected. He vowed to remain vigilant. As for Megaboot Man himself, he didn't stop. There were always more battles to fight, more people to help, more lessons to learn. He knew his journey would never truly end, and so Megaboot Man continued his mission, with his boot sword in hand and justice in his heart, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For he knew that true heroism wasn't about winning, it was about never stopping to fight for what's right.